BBC Breakfast is a national British morning television news programme simulcast on BBC One and the BBC News channel. It is presented live from Media City UK and contains a mixture of news, sport, weather, business and feature items. The programme is broadcast 7 days a week, every week of the year, including weekends and public holidays. Adam Bullimore is the editor. He had been the deputy editor for 5 years. Alison Ford, previously the UK editor for BBC Newsgathering, was the editor of the programme until her death in July 2013. Her appointment followed the departure of David Kermode to 5 News. History: Breakfast Time was the first BBC breakfast programme, with Ron Neal as producer. It was conceived in response to the plans of the commercial television company TVM to introduce a breakfast television show. Breakfast Time's first broadcast was on January 17, 1983, featuring multiple presenters, Frank Bough, Selina Scott, Nick Ross and Russell Grant. The atmosphere of the set was intended to encourage a relaxed informality. A set that mimicked a living room rather than a studio, with red leather sofas, and Bough and Ross wearing jumpers and open-necked shirts. This allowed for an unconventional mix of authoritative and highbrow news and informative and entertainment features that made the show dominate the news genre and trounce the anticipated threat by the star-name commercial TV rival. So, a senior government minister might be subjected to intense questioning while sitting on the red sofa, to be then included in the presentation of a food cooking demonstration. Breakfast Time lasted 150 minutes, initially being transmitted between 6.30 am and 9 am, moving to a 6.50 am to 9.20 am slot on February 18, 1985. A bomb detonated at 2:54 am on October 12 in the Grand Hotel, Brighton, with the purpose to kill Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and her cabinet, who were staying at the hotel for the Conservative Party conference. Nick Ross presented Breakfast Time on his own, as live coverage came in from Brighton. Ron Neal departed from the programme and on November 10, 1986 a more conventional news focus was introduced featuring a news desk, presenters in smart dress and a time-reduced programme broadcast that began at 7 am and ended any time between 8.30 am and 8.55 am. Presenters included Kirsty Walk, John Stapleton, Jeremy Paxman and Sally Magnuson. On October 2, 1989, the programme was renamed Breakfast News, followed a more authoritative tone with a set modelled on the conventional desk style found with main news bulletins, and started at 6.30 am. A considerable portion of the first half hour was devoted to business news. In January 1993, the business news coverage extended to an hour-long programme in its own right, beginning at 6 am. Breakfast News started at 7 am. Next came the merging of the separate programmes of BBC One and BBC News 24 into one single simulcast starting from October 2, 2000. Since April 2006, the BBC News channel has screened rolling news coverage from 8.30 am while breakfast continues on BBC One until 9.15 am. In April 2008, BBC News 24 was renamed BBC News, as part of a £550,000 rebranding of the BBC's news output, complete with a new studio and presentation. On May 2, 2006, Breakfast moved into Studio N6 at Television Centre with other BBC One news programmes that required a larger set design that included walls of Barco video screens. The original screen scenes of cirrus clouds on a blue sky were changed as a result of viewer comments that it looked too cold. Their replacement was with orange squares of the same design as those appearing in the programme's new title sequence, which were designed to hide any joins or faults between the screens which had previously been obvious. The screens eventually displayed visuals needed for story content, different backgrounds, graphics and still photographs. More importantly, the set had a generic visual style that could be used for other programs, such as the national news bulletins, without much additional physical change. The program celebrated its 20th anniversary on January 17, 2003. On January 28, 2008, Breakfast returned to the TC7 studios, where Breakfast Time had been based following its move from the BBC Lime Grove studios. On March 2, 2009, Breakfast relaunched with a new set and studio background. The backdrop resembles that of the BBC News Channel, as do the new Breakfast titles. In July 2010, the BBC announced that Breakfast was moving to their new studios in Salford Quays. The BBC announced that with the April 2012 move to Salford, co-presenter Shan Williams and sports presenter Chris Hollins preferred not be included in the move to the north of England. Williams left Breakfast on March 15, 2012, but she continues doing other assignments with the BBC. On December 12, 2011, the first of several presenter changes was announced. Louise Minchin-Wood, with the studio moved to Salford, joined the other main presenters of BBC Breakfast, Bill Turnbull, Susanna Reid and Charlie State. Carol Kirkwood, on March 26, 2012, would remain in London presenting with her. Sports presenters Mike Bushell and Sally Nugent and business presenter Steph McGovern would locate to Salford. The first Breakfast edition from Salford occurred on Tuesday, 10 April 2012. London-based newspapers have reported extensive criticism of the BBC move, but a decrease in audience has not occurred, with the retention of an approximate average of 1.5 million viewers. The 2012 Summer Olympics prompted Olympic Breakfast on the morning of the opening ceremony to temporarily broadcast from an interim studio near the Olympic Park in Stratford. During the Games, former presenters Shan Williams and Chris Hollins also returned to lead the morning programme, in addition to Bill Turnbull and BBC Sport presenter Hazel Irvine. The show ended its temporary London return with broadcasting from the BBC News Channel studio on the morning following the closing ceremonies before rebroadcasting from Salford the next day. On March 19, 2013, BBC Breakfast updated its lower thirds to match the graphics and fonts used by the rest of BBC News since the previous day. The clock was consequently moved to the lower right side of the screen. On July 23, 2014, the show went on location again, this time to Glasgow to showcase highlights from the 2014 Commonwealth Games. In the hours leading up to the opening ceremony, Carol Kirkwood reported from Celtic Park. Format: between 6 a.m. and 8:30 am of weekdays, the programme is simulcast on the BBC News. During the simulcast, the sports news is at 6:10 am, 6:35 am, 7:35 am and 8:35 am. In addition, live sports bulletins are broadcast from sporting locations, such as Royal Ascot and Wimbledon, with the presenter interviewing key sporting figures. Business updates are presented at 6:10 am, when the main business stories from the newspapers are also discussed, and at 6:50 am, 7:20 am and 7:50 am either from the studio, or out on location. The United Kingdom weather forecasting broadcast is at 15 minutes and 45 minutes past the hour throughout the programme, either from the BBC Weather Centre in Broadcasting House, or out on location. Short regional news, travel and weather programmes are just before the hour and the half hour throughout the programme. Once the BBC News Channel breaks away for its own programming at 8:30, a brief check of the headlines and sports are done, then the show gradually shifts to reporting lifestyle and entertainment-oriented stories. The show occasionally ends with a musical performance from one of the guests. The show is abbreviated during bank holidays to just 3 hours but still features regional news updates, and is completely simulcast on the BBC News Channel. During weekends, there are no updates from regional news bureaus. The first and/or second hour of the weekend edition may occasionally feature abbreviated versions of the BBC's other programmes such as Click, Reporters and The Film Review. The show is also simulcast on BBC One and the BBC News Channel, but BBC One occasionally breaks away at 7:30 on Sundays to bring Match of the Day. The third and fourth hour are completely live, and occasionally, the last segment on Saturdays may feature cooking. Interactive, Breakfast encourages viewer response and interaction via email, Facebook and Twitter. Video reports and interviews from the programme are made available on the Breakfast Facebook page after transmission. Notable presenters: Main Sport Business Weather Former presenters Main. Sport, Rob Bonnet, a Euro Sports presenter, 2000. A Euro 2005, Chris Hollins, a Euro Sports presenter, 2005. A Euro 2012. Occasional relief as main presenter, Sue Thiel, a Euro Sports presenter, 2000. A Euro 2008. Business, Declan Curry, a Euro Business presenter, 2000. A Euro 2008. Max Foster, a Euro Business presenter and newsreader, 2001. A Euro 2005, Aaron Heaslehurst, a Euro Business presenter, 2008. A Euro 2010, Simon Jack, a Euro Business presenter, 2008. A Euro 2011, Mayar Moshi Ray, a Euro Business Relief presenter, 2008. A Euro 2010, Susanna Streeter, a Euro Business Relief presenter, 2006. A Euro 2013. Weather, Isabel Lang, a Euro Weather presenter, 2000. A Euro 2006, Louise Lear, a Euro Weather presenter, 1998. A Euro 2007, Helen Willett, a Euro Weather presenter, 2000. A Euro 2008. Newsreader, Kate Gerbeau, a Euro Regular Newsreader, 2000. A Euro 2004, Gillian Joseph, a Euro Regular Newsreader, 2004. A Euro 2005, Louisa Preston, a Euro Relief Newsreader, 2004. A Euro 2006, Moira Stewart, a Euro Regular Newsreader, 2000. A Euro 2006, Suzanne Verdi, a Euro Relief Newsreader, 2004. A Euro 2006. Out-of-studio broadcasts, presenters make on-location broadcasts based on the significance of the story, September 11, 2001. Jeremy Bowen presented live near Ground Zero in New York City following the days of the aftermath of the tragic events. November 2004. Dermot Murnaghan presented from Washington, D.C. for the 2004 U.S. election. July 7, 2005. Bill Turnbull presented live from King's Cross in the aftermath of the 7 July 2005 London bombings. 2005. Shan Williams reported live from the scene of the Indian earthquake. June 2006. Dermot Murnaghan presented from the election campaign from Bristol. November 2008. Bill Turnbull reported live from Washington, D.C. for the U.S. presidential elections. On June 3, 2010, Turnbull presented live from the town of Whitehaven, following the Cumbria shootings the previous day. September 2009, Kate Silverton presented from Lashkar Gah, Afghanistan. September 2009. Bill Turnbull presented live from Brighton for the Liberal Democrats Conference. September 2009. Shan Williams presented from the Labour and Conservative Party conferences. March 2010. Susanna Reid presented from the Academy Awards ceremony. April 6, 2010. Shan Williams presented from Westminster in the run-up to the announcement of the 2010 general election. April-May 2010. Bill Turnbull presented and reported from various locations on party campaign trail throughout the country. April 30, 2010, Charlie State presented the program from the University of Birmingham following the final leaders' debate of the election campaign. May 12, 2010. Shan Williams presented the program from College Green, Westminster the day after David Cameron became Prime Minister. May 12, 2010. Bill Turnbull presented from outside 10 Downing Street. July 27, 2010. Bill Turnbull presented on the progress of the Olympic Park in Stratford, East London starting 2 years before the opening ceremony of the 2012 Summer Olympics. Chris Hollins presented the sports news from the same location. September 2010. Bill Turnbull presented from their party conference in Liverpool and the Labour conference in Manchester. October 2010. Shan Williams presented from the Tory conference in Birmingham. October 2010. Shan Williams presented from College Green, Westminster in anticipation of the unveiling of Chancellor George Osborne's spending review. October 2010. Shan Williams presented the unveiling of Chancellor George Osborne's spending review. On April 29, 2011, a special split edition of the programme with Shan presenting from Westminster Abbey and Bill live from Buckingham Palace for the build-up of the royal wedding, July 26, 2012. Charlie State and Louise Minchin presented the show live from the BBC News studio in Olympic Park in London for the Olympic Games. Weather and sports news were also originated from the same location. April 17, 2013. Charlie State presented the show from St Paul's Cathedral, London for a special split edition in the build-up of the funeral of Baroness Lady Thatcher. 27th and 28th June 2014. Bill Turnbull presented from Camp Bastion to celebrate Armed Forces Day, August 4, 2014. Charlie State presented from Glasgow Cathedral in the lead-up to ceremonies marking 100 years since World War I broke out. March 13, 2015. Bill Turnbull presented from St Paul's Cathedral, London in the lead-up to a special service of remembrance to mark the end of operations in Afghanistan. Video podcast. In September 2006, Breakfast launched its own video podcast called The Breakfast Takeaway. BBC News had already launched 3 other services, News Night, The 10 O'Clock News and Story Fix. The Breakfast Takeaway was available Monday to Friday in MP4 format where it could be downloaded to and viewed from a home or office computer. The video podcasts were a 1-year trial, and from July 2007 they were discontinued. The BBC then reviewed the trial but the podcast has not been continued. Specials. In 2003, the Breakfast production team was commissioned by BBC One to make a week-long series called The Day Team from Chatsworth presented by Nicky Chapman, and presenter of the BBC's Country File programme, John Craven. It took a behind-the-scenes look at the stately home Chatsworth House and was broadcast separately on BBC One at 10:30 in the morning. A number of other guests, or celebrity presenters have been used on Breakfast to present themed days or weeks, even though some have never been mainstream news reporters or presenters. Many of these have seen the programme extended to 0930, Alistair Appleton, Tate Modern 2004, Bath, Somerset 2003, Chris Beardshaw, Chelsea Flower Show 2006, Jenny Bond, Buckingham Palace 2004, Nicky Chapman, Children in Need November 2005, London Fashion Week 2004, Chelsea Flower Show 2006, Philippa Forrester, Alder Hey Children's Hospital 2002, Andy Peters, Neighbours Set 2005, EastEnders Albert Square Outside Broadcast 2006, Gabby Roslin, Wimbledon Tennis Championships Outside Broadcast 2002, Tim Winnicott, Christie's Auction Room 2004. Awards. In March 2006, Breakfast won the TRIC Award for Best Daytime Television Programme for the 3rd year in a row. The show was nominated for a National Television Award in the Topical Magazine Programme category in 2011 but lost out to ITV's This Morning. See also: Breakfast Television, Today. References. External links: BBC Breakfast at BBC Programmes.